Hey, scientists, grab those lab coats and those goggles and let's investigate how water is always moving around us. Before we get into it, let's look at our essential questions. Now, let's talk about our essential question. Remember, essential questions in science and in different lessons can help us think about what we already know about a topic, and it helps us connect to new ideas that we're going to learn today to help us produce a new thought about the topic. Our essential questions will be focused on our different science topics. So look for keywords. In those keywords, the minute you see them and recognize them, I want you to think, what do I already know about this topic? Once you have that in your mind, you want to look at the question again to see what we're trying to answer today or what are we trying to answer about that topic. It's important to remember that an essential question is like a goal as well. By the end of our science lesson, you should confidently be able to answer the essential question. Let's go over our essential question for today. The three essential questions that we have are today are as followed. Listen to me first and then read it with me the second time. What is the water cycle? Say that one with me. What is the water cycle? The second one, listen first. How does water move through the water cycle and on the surface of the earth? Read it with me. How does water move through the water cycle above and on the surface of the earth? And lastly, what is the major source of energy that moves water through the water cycle? Say the last one with me, nice and loud. What is the major source of energy that moves water through the water cycle? We're going to do a little warm-up activity before I explain how we're going to investigate the water cycle in more detail today. For this activity, we need to grab some supplies and we need to do some setup before I go over the directions. Listen first when I go over the supplies and setup, and then when your teacher says go, you will have 1 minute to get into groups. The different supplies we will need for this activity is you'll need a dictionary per group or access to an online dictionary. Not every student is going to need a physical dictionary, and not every student will need a laptop or computer for an online dictionary. Just make sure each group at least has access to one of each. The second supplies we will need for each group is a whiteboard and a marker. After you guys grab the supplies, your setup is going to be to get into groups of 3 or 5. When you have your supplies and you're in your groups, sit down. Assign one person to be the writer of the group. I'll explain their job later. Then pick 1 or 2 people who are going to be searching the handheld dictionary. Their job will be to go through the dictionary, and I'll explain what you'll be looking for in a little bit. And then lastly, assign 1 or 2 people to be searching an online dictionary. You're going to get on a school-approved online dictionary that you guys are able to use and are familiar with searching items on. While you wait to get into groups, make sure you listen for your teacher to say the key word and review if you need any type of supplies. Pause the video and listen to your teacher now. Now that we're in our groups and we have our supplies, let's go over how to do this activity. The first step is each of your groups will have 4 minutes to complete the mission or achieve the goal. The goal that you guys are trying to achieve as a team is to write down as many possible places where water can be found. So think creatively. We may know things like oceans and lakes, but maybe find some specifics or even go beyond that and think of other places. Specifically, look at definitions that you in your resources, your online dictionary and your physical dictionary, and use those to help you find unique words. Each teammate will have a different role. Let's talk about those roles now. If you are the writer for your team, your role is going to be to write down each word and a little definition for them. If, for example, you pick ocean, you're going to write that there are 5 different major oceans in the world. That might be a good way. So if we need you to define what word is that you wrote down, we're able to get a good idea of what you're trying to explain or where the water is found. If you are the person who is in charge of using the online dictionary, your job is going to be to search for places that water can be found. Use keywords like water, find words such as oceans, and then maybe look at synonyms and see where those bring you. Be creative with your searches and talk as a team, especially if you have more than one person searching an online dictionary. Once you guys find a word, you're going to turn and tell it to the person who is your writer and give them the little definition. Make sure to put it in your own words so that there is enough time for that person to write it down and you're not having to spend too much time on one word. If you're the person in charge of the physical dictionary, your role is just like the people with the online dictionaries, except you're going to do the searching by hand. Skim through the pages and look for different words that have maybe water in the definition or water in the title, or maybe gives you some form of water as an example. See if those align with what we are looking for as a place where water can be found. Once you have found it, do the same thing as the other people using the online dictionary. Turn over to the writer and give them the word and the definition in your own words. We'll go over some good examples of answers at the end of the video together, and then you guys will have a chance to share as a class to see if there were any other examples that you could have found that even I couldn't find in my dictionary. Now remember, you have 4 minutes to do this, and when time is up, each of your group members needs to either close the dictionary they're using, close the laptop they're using, or if you're the writer, cap the marker you are using and put those things to the side and sit together as a group. Then come back and play this video and we will review some of those good answers. If you have any questions, pause the video now and go over it with your teacher. Otherwise, pause a minute and get ready to start your 4 minutes. Good luck, scientists, and I'll see you in a second. Now, some different examples that you could have come up with on your list could have been examples like rivers, lakes, and oceans. And you could have even gotten more specific about what types of rivers, lakes, and oceans you were talking about, like the Mississippi River or the Atlantic Ocean. Those would have been great examples, or they could have been part of your definition to the broader topic. Some specifics that stood out in my dictionary when I was searching was estuaries. This word is where a tide meets a stream. This one you can see pictured here. Another one that stood out to me was clouds. Of course, clouds are made of water vapor and gases that mix into a liquid droplets, and then they stick together to form the clouds into air. Also, looking out at clouds, I saw something that led me to another word, and clouds led me to precipitation. Precipitation, or we also like to call it rain or sometimes even drizzle outside, it's just when solid water particles actually fall from clouds. So I was able to go off of one of my definitions and come up with another word. Maybe some more words are coming to your brain now. Don't write any of them down on your papers, but pause the video and talk as a class if you found any other examples that I didn't find in my dictionary. Create a list on your classroom whiteboard together. Then we're going to explore a little bit about where does this rain come from? Come back when you're ready to talk about that. Now that we've had a chance to talk about the different example of places that have water or that we can find water, we're going to focus specifically on how does that water get there? How does it move around from different places? And a big reason for that in the water cycle is because of a certain type of energy source that is being used. If you think you know what that energy source is, put your hands on your shoulders. The energy source that helps water move through the cycle and even through different places in the world, like for my example, it helps when going from clouds to precipitation. It has to do with the sun. The sun gives enough energy and allows for different parts of the water cycle to take process. We're going to explore that today with a little bit of an activity. I'm going to go over the materials and set up with you guys, and then you'll get to be hands-on with the activity after I log off with you today. Version of the weather cycle. While you guys work on this today, you should be careful because you will be using glass, and make sure to work as a team and follow the directions carefully. For your first part of this exploration, you will be using these mason jars you see here on the right, some water from a water bottle, clear plastic wrap. Sometimes your parents might use this in the kitchen. It's very sticky and can be tricky to use, so make sure you're patient with it. Some tape and a rubber band. The rubber bands are used for science, not for flicking. We are going to be using these different materials to help build a water cycle. Now, you guys will be provided the instructions to review with your group in case you forget anything, but it's important to review kind of what you're going to do. In your mason jar, you're going to be placing a little bit of water. Your saran or wrap tape will go on the top, and your rubber band will go over it. You want to create an airtight atmosphere, which means you want to try to get that saran wrap nice and tight over the top. So by putting the rubber band on it, you're sucking a lot of the air out. Now, we just talked about before, the way that water moves is using that energy from the sun. Everybody say that with me. Water moves because of the sun. If there wasn't any sun, there wouldn't be any water cycle. It's a key part in the process. That's why for this activity, you'll also be using a lamp. Now, this first part takes a little bit of time, so you'll get the breakdown of the other parts after you guys set this up with your teammates. Remember, be patient and review the directions that your teacher hands out to you. Good luck, guys, and I will see you soon, scientists.